All good. All
Yeah.
right.
Well,
All right.
some people were saying, Bodo, easy walkover. We can rest Xavi, and we'll get the easy win.
Hey, I said we should start him. I said we should start him, and he should be rested. Anyway, he should be taken off. We should start him. Anyway, I think first things first that the performance, like, there's no hiding from that. That was embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we 2 goals was enough for a draw is a miracle because we
Yeah.
could have conceded 5.
Yeah.
So on that front, right, like, wonderful to get a point. 2-0 down, we do that, but we had no right. And that's kind of in that same conversation you're referring to. I was saying if we are struggling against a team like this, something's wrong. And I think there's a few things wrong. I think the last caller mentioned it perfectly. Like, he's doing a little too much experimenting here and there. That being said, the front three was the one I wanted to see. I think personally that front three should not be getting outshot 3-15 in the first half. I think that's ridiculous. You can definitely get something out of there. I think the midfield, though, right? That's why I wanted to start Xavi. There was no creativity in that midfield. We really had no answer. And I said it last time. Teams can be characterized by 2 things: their technical ability and their energy. Because of how much of our technical ability is unavailable right now, with Kulusevski and Madison in particular, and then you could even argue Solanke, who I think is technically better than Richarlison, and then maybe Colomwani, we haven't seen enough to know, but let's just say those 3, Solanke, Kulusevski, and Madison. Our technical ability, besides Kudus, who's really more of a physical player, and then Simmons, we don't really have anybody who you look at in the squad and you say that's a player that we can really rely on a technical level to create something. So we have to be the more energetic team. And you look at the games we performed well this season. You look at Wolves' first half. You look at the Burnley game. You look at the City game. Those are the games where we're committed to being the more energetic team. And then you look at the games where we're getting battered, like this game, like the Bournemouth game, right? Like the second half of that Wolves game. And you're thinking, wow, when we're physically outmatched, we have no answer. And that's what's happening. And that's a personnel issue at the end of the day, right? Because physicality runs out. When you're playing 2 games a week, you can't expect this team to come out, firing on all cylinders physically. And that's what happens sometimes to us. And I can't blame Frank entirely for that. I can't say maybe, you should change this, change that. Maybe Archie Gray should be getting more minutes because I think he's probably a better player technically than some of our players who are getting minutes. But because we have to rely so much on being the energetic team, if we get outmatched, like in the first half, we were getting outran by like 2 kilometers cumulatively. That's what we saw. We were getting pressed. We were getting suffocated in our own half with the press. So that's the story of what happened. We were physically outmatched, and we didn't really have an answer. And then luckily, we were pretty decent on set pieces. And then Archie Gray comes in. I think again he's been one of our better players when he comes on. And we get a lucky break. Very lucky to get a draw. And if you can't win, don't lose.
But we're playing Bodo, the resources to us are so so outmatched in terms of being, all the physical data we probably get and all those, different resources. How are they able to physically outmatch us when we've also made a lot of changes as well in this game?
I think it's look. First of all, again, I'm saying it's embarrassing. Bodo Glimt's a second. Like, there's no question about that. Bodo Glimt at best should be taken with the same, kind of like they are at best maybe a lower tier Premier League side, or if they have a good season like Luton or like a Championship side in terms of quality. They should not be taken. Like, this is not a good performance. This is embarrassing. They're a second-rate side. So but physically speaking, they were able to outmatch us for probably a few reasons. I mean, maybe I don't know. I'm not familiar with Bodo's program or their players, but their players probably are just more physical players. It's the 7th season with their manager. They're a more well-oiled machine, and that's not an excuse, by the way. Again, because we beat them with Ange Postecoglou last season. So, but then we had Madison and Solanke playing in that game at the same time. There's no excuse, and I don't have an answer as to why it happened, but I'm just saying what I saw, and we were physically completely outmatched in the games where we look poor. And when we're physically outmatched, we have nothing. We have absolutely nothing to rely on. When we're physically level with a team, even if we don't dominate them physically, kind of like the last 10-ish minutes of that Wolves game when we're going to toe-to-toe physically, we can have a little bit of quality, like especially, Mohamed Kudus, even Palhinha, right? Like we have some quality, but when we're getting completely outmatched physically, there's absolutely no answer. Like we don't have anything to fall back on, and that's the big problem. And I think that's more of a personnel issue. But regarding why physicality,
But you're saying it's a personnel issue we have today. Pape, who hasn't started the last couple games, he's quite physical. Bentancur's pretty physical.
He's been injured, though.
I know, but he started today because he was fit enough to start. Bergvall is a pretty physical player as well. Like, why are those three, who all of them haven't been starting every game? Why are they? When you're saying it's a personnel issue, I'm just saying I'm looking at personnel.
I was talking about their technical ability. I'm saying their technical ability is a personnel issue. That when we get outmatched, I'm not making any excuses for the physicality. Brennan Johnson's barely played for a few weeks. Like you said, Pape Sarr has not played. Bentancur, I wouldn't say is very he's strong, but I don't think he's very pacey, which is part of the thing if you want to cover ground. Bergvall for sure, though, I would agree. Richarlison, I think we can agree, is a more physical player, even if he's played a lot of minutes. Physicality wise, I'm not making any excuses. That's what was embarrassing about the performance. We should not be getting out physical by a team like this. We have so many more resources available to us. I'm saying
when we have ability.
Yeah, but I think technically they were just superior to us. Like you can't doubt that. You look at that and you can say our squad is so much more expensive. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because those players completely embarrass us technically. Their wingers would start for us. That's the reality. Their wingers would start for us. You think, besides Kudus, you think their wingers don't start for us? Because I do. I mean, that second goal, I haven't seen any of our wingers do that in years. So,
Hauge.
That's what it is. Yeah, what was his name again?
Hauge.
Yeah, Hauge. I mean, that guy, he would be
great.
our best winger. He would be our best winger besides Kudus. Have him on the left.
Why we are so reliant on Kudus, it seems, isn't it, to create any sort of opportunities? How much of a worry is that at the moment, anyway?
It's a massive worry.
It seems as though unless he's on the pitch, we really struggle just to get up the pitch.
It's a massive worry, but I will say, it's a little bit of a cop-out to say, oh, what if Kudus gets injured? Because it's a situation of what if Madison and Kulusevski and Kudus get injured, which is the situation we're in. Because I think, again, if you have those three players who I think are the creative players that can make something happen, then you're thinking, okay, well, we're not reliant on one of them. But right now we're reliant on one because it's one of three standing. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit of a cop-out to say we're only reliant on Kudus because the whole squad is shit. But I think just, again, so much of the technical part of the squad is injured. And right now Kudus is the last man standing pretty much besides Xavi Simons, who's clearly still betting into the side.
Do you think that Frank just took this game a bit too lightly today with, just resting the majority of our technical players, and maybe he underestimated Bodo a little bit?
I don't know if I'd say underestimated because I don't obviously agree with the 11. Again, I said several times, I think we should have had Xavi start. I think without Xavi and Kudus, it's not even a case of is he not taking Bodo Glimt too seriously. It's literally against Doncaster, we didn't look that good without Xavi and Kudus on the pitch. It's we without them, how are we expecting to score? What's the plan? Besides set pieces, I guess, but then Kudus is our best set piece taker. So I don't know what the plan is I don't know what the plan is to score without Simons and Kudus. And I'm being generous including Simons in there because I think he's looked bright, but I don't think he's done anything. He's not even on the same level as Kudus. So I don't know what the plan is. It's not is he taking Bodo Glimt seriously? It's what is he thinking? Because I'm not seeing it. When we have our first 11 on the pitch, or even when he's tweaking the system like that PSG game where Kudus is playing an entirely different role as to what he's been playing the rest of the season, I could see the plan. I could see what was going on. I have no idea what's going on when we don't have him on the pitch. I don't know what we're trying to create. I don't know what avenues we're trying to go down. I don't know how he wants to progress the ball down the left because Oderbert keeps sticking and twisting and actually, taking the defender inside out and then not taking any advantage of it at all. He doesn't have the pace to break off and actually release a pass. Spence on the ball can't progress it for anything recently. Down the right, Brennan Johnson, again, unfortunately, I hate to say it, every time he's on, whatever side he's on, never progresses the ball. And then through the middle, Bergvall hasn't been super creative in the 10 spot. Pape Sarr, his best contribution is probably winning 50-50s high up the pitch, and Bentancur is not really a creative player, so I don't know how we're progressing the ball. Until Kudus and Xavi Simons came on the pitch, Richarlison hardly saw the ball besides the first chance they missed. So I don't know what the plan is. I really don't know. Maybe it's a coaching issue, but I don't think those players are good enough to advance the ball the way we need to. So regardless of who the opposition is, when you have personnel like that, what do you do, right? I don't really know who to blame. because I can see that it's a really difficult situation for both the club and Frank. But it's tough. I will say the biggest credit I can give is we've lost one game all season, and that's good. That's a thing to be positive about because we have lost one game all season. But
Thomas Frank said he believes Spurs' biggest issue tonight was that they often threw the ball away too quickly after winning back possession.
Yeah, but that's been our issue in so many games. That's what I'm saying. Like, we cannot hold on to that ball. Every time I watch a game with my dad, like 90% of the time, whoever the team we're playing, it could be Wolves, it could be Bournemouth, it could be City, it could be Burnley. He'll be like, why do the other teams just pass the ball so much better than us? Like, why can they actually connect 6, 7, 8, 9 passes so much more consistently than we can? And he's like, because he's not super into the sport as I am. He's not looking at transfer news. He doesn't know any of the names of half the players on the pitch. But like, he's just like visibly confused. Like, isn't Spurs supposed to be like a big club? Like, aren't you supposed to be passing the ball well? And I'm like, I can't tell you, because I don't know what am I gonna say? I'm gonna say that this team in 18th place is technically better than us because they have these players that we don't. It feels ridiculous to say, but it's the truth. So I don't know what to say. We lose the ball constantly unless it's in the hands of a very few specific players. If it's in the hands of Gray, maybe in the hands of Bentancur if he's gonna play a safe pass, Romero, Porro, Kudus. Pretty much anybody else. Like, if Sarr has the ball, it's a 50-50 chance. If Spence has the ball, it's a 50-50 chance. If Odegaard has the ball, it's a 50-50 chance. Like, we don't have 11 players you can put on the pitch and say they're going to keep the ball. If you had Madison, Kulusevski, Kudus, Solanke, Gray, Bergvall, and then Porro and Udogie and all these players, I think we'd look phenomenal, but we haven't seen that. It's hard. But with what we have available to us, it's poor.
I think there's been a clear problem with Frank's selection in midfield the last couple of games. Like, who do you go with against Leeds?
I think I don't know if I'd start him because, again, like, it's just so hard. Like, it feels like I'm throwing him in the deep end. But I think Archie Gray just deserves way more minutes than he's been getting every time he's come on.
Place he's comfortable as well, Leeds.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. So I think he deserves minutes for sure. I would start him. I really would, because I'm sick and tired of seeing Palhinha and Bentancur next to each other.
Yeah.
I would go Palhinha, Gray, Simmons. That's what I would do. Because then you have Bergvall off the bench, Sarr off the bench. That's what I would want to do. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be Bergvall, Palhinha, and Bentancur, to be honest. But I would like for Frank to change that, because I think Archie Gray is being hard done by. Every time he just looks so comfortable, he's the player who, if the ball's with him, I'm thinking he's going to do something. This ball's we're not losing the ball. Every time he's just so calm. So many of our players, and Frank says it in the presser after Wolves, it's like our players are the ball is a bomb. Like, they're not passing the ball. I say this every season at one point. Our players don't pass the ball. They pass the responsibility. They don't want the ball sometimes. That's what it feels like. Yeah. So, besides Gray, gets the ball and he's looking for something.
Yeah.
I'd agree with you. He was asked if it was the plan to try and sit back and counter today, and he said, I think that was what we wanted. Hopefully, you saw that we went high pressure sometimes, but he said, and it was obviously it was the plan to succeed with those situations, and then there were times when we were a little more banked in. I think the counters should have been a little better, but I think the main bit was that we were on the ball, we threw the ball away too quick. So he said it was the plan today to kind of sit back.
So he tried to Ange him, is what he's saying. He's saying this is a team who's going to give us the front foot, they're going to press us high, and we're going to try and punish them for overextending, playing the brand of football that they're not good enough to play, and we absolutely did not manage to do that. That's what
it doesn't help. It doesn't help trying to counter a team when you're just hoofing the ball up to the other end of the pitch. Like,
yeah, that's how Burnley counterattacks.
I feel like our counters have not been good this season. Like, we haven't been a good, like, when we get on the chance to counter, I don't know whether it's, do we have players who have enough pace to kind of get away from defenders, or what it is, timing of the runs, do we commit enough players to our counterattacks? But
we miss Sonny and we miss Madison.
But we don't have the play. Yes, Sonny used to be elite at just timing those runs, getting in behind, and obviously getting away from defenders. Seem like Kudus obviously is a player who likes the ball to feet. Odegaard as well. Johnson, can do it, but I don't know. We just don't seem to have very good players who are very good in counterattacks.
I think it's a personnel thing, because you mentioned half our players and how they like getting the ball to feet. But I will say, I think if there's anybody, I'd say we should bring them in. I think they'd improve our counterattacks over time. Maybe Thomas Frank. a lot of the players at Brentford, you see Brian Mbeumo, you see Johan Wissa, you see even Ivan Toney, like maybe not Ivan Toney so much, but a lot of these players that you're thinking, oh, these are even now Kevin Schade, these players like Frank made them. Frank made these plays. Like Mbeumo, I remember nobody really cared for Mbeumo until Tony left, and then he had to take this mantle, and then Frank bigged him up. So a lot of these players that we are thinking they're just quality, like Frank made them, he developed them, and I think we have maybe a bit of talent that hopefully he can create. You can turn that into, like, I'm looking at Matisse Tell. Maybe he can turn him into the kind of player like that. Hopefully, I mean I've been critical of him, but I'm just saying, Frank over time, like I have no doubt about Thomas Frank's ability to coach a counterattack. So that makes me think that it's a personnel thing. Like, you have remnants of, like, I mean, these are players who've been coached last season as well. Like, old habits die hard. So you can't coach everything out. And it's not that Ange's style was like bad or we have to like get this fire somewhere. It's just like they played one way and now playing another way. And you're going up against a team who's had 7 years of the same system versus us who've had a few months of it. And again, that's no excuse. That doesn't mean that we should be dropping points. But when you want to tactically adjust to a team like that, and you're expecting to go on this counterattack, you don't have the ideal personnel, and you haven't been working on it for that long compared to a team who know what they're doing for very, very well. They have their own rhythm. It's a bigger challenge. Maybe he just shouldn't have done that. Maybe he should have said, look, we're going to have to play our game. We're going to be the dominant side. But he didn't. And he got it wrong. But like you guys said, I think now is the time to experiment. I'd rather do it now than a knockout phase. So,
True.
I think, again, Frank will be the manager that keeps on improving. A lot of managers drop off and they don't get better ever again. They have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games, even one season that's really good, and then we drop off. We saw it under Conte, we saw it under Ange. I'd like to hope Frank is the opposite. I think he gets better and better and better. And I think the evidence was at Brentford. If you look at his start, he was quite poor, and then Brentford were finishing higher up the table no matter who they lost, and that gives me a lot of encouragement. So I think it'll be all right.
All right, ARIAN, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for coming on
Big
today.
up, ARIAN.
We'll speak soon.
Thanks for having me. And as always, come on, you Spurs!